So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. We are tired of sucking we are tired of sucking I hope my mother does not get to watch this part of the video, but if she does, well, I wasn't the one that said that. Those were the words from young female undergraduates of law at the University of Calabar in Nigeria. Let us hear the story. Four years ago, media giant BBC, in its African Eye special, published a jaw-dropping documentary revealing the plague ravaging many Nigerian and Ghanaian universities. That plague is called sex for max. The sex for max culture is a practice that has been so institutionalized, so normalized in these universities, polytechnics and colleges of education, where we see lecturers, professors, deans, senior members of academic staff, people charged with the mandate to tutor the next generation, people who are twice more than the ages of these young girls, people who stand in a fiduciary relationship with these girls, turn around to abuse their office and begin harassing, begin witch hunting these young girls to have sex with them for marks and for grades. Failure to comply usually coming with far-reaching consequences, which can range from a gang up by these lecturers to frustrate that person or an outright failure. Today's story is the story of barrister Cyril Ndifon, a powerful alleged serial sex for grades lecturer whose sinister exploits could only be stopped when scores of his students and victims took to the streets in protest, bearing placards that read, "We are tired of." 72-year-old Professor Cyril Ndifon is a powerful, well-read and well-learned man. He was the Dean of Law at the University of Calabar in Nigeria. Professor Cyril obtained his law degree at the Obafemi Awolowo University. He also holds 2 postgraduate degrees, an LLM and a PhD, both in law. As a seasoned legal luminary, Professor Cyril had every reason to act responsibly and with dignity. First, as a senior professor of law, he of all people should have known the law's stand and what the law says about sexual offenses and sexual abuse. He should have been a custodian of the law. Secondly, he is married with children, grown-up children, and even grandchildren. His wife is also a lecturer at the school, so one would think that he would respect those state of facts. Unfortunately, Professor Cyril had no discipline. Professor Cyril first got entangled in this sex for grade scandal far back in 2015. He was accused of raping a 20-year-old student right in his office, inside his office. I will tell the story as narrated by the parents of this victim. So on this fateful day, August the 19th, 2015, Professor Cyril had fixed the test for Saturday, despite there were many empty lecture halls begging to be used during the week. I bet it was all planned and very well orchestrated. He had already announced that the test would last for 1 hour, and he had instructed 2 persons to supervise the students. Suddenly he came in when the students were 20 minutes into the test and announced that the test was over, abruptly stopped them from proceeding to complete the test. And so there were many students scampering to dot their I's and cross their T's. Professor Cyril scanned the room and picked this young beautiful girl, grabbed her answer script and tore it to shreds. After the whole drama, the very distraught girl was going back home tearfully. According to her, you will still have to pass through the faculty before exiting the building. As she was leaving, the dean accosted her again and asked her if she still had the shredded answer script. She responded in the affirmative, and then he instructed her to follow him to his office so he can give her another chance to recopy it into another blank paper. She did. When they got to the office, she began transferring her answers from the shredded script to the new blank paper that Professor had provided her. And barely 5 minutes into the whole thing, the dean asked her if she could kiss him. She refused. Shocked as she wasn't expecting that from such an elderly, well-respected, highly reverenced man. She refused that, no sir. And then he pretended like all was well. It's okay, it's all right, it's okay, so that she could relax and continue copying. Shortly after, he got up with a glass of whiskey and offered her a drink, and she refused, telling him that she doesn't drink whiskey. Little did she know at this point that Professor had locked the door and kept the keys away. As he was invading her personal space, he began asking her what her grades were like, and she responded that her grades were great and she had a lot of A's. He lobbied that he was going to increase the A's if she agreed to have sex with him. She declined and said no, that she can study and pass for herself. She doesn't want to have sex, and she stood up and made for the door to exit. But alas, the door was locked. Professor Cyril got a grip of her and they began struggling. Oh, she screamed, she tried, she wrestled, but no one could hear her. Remember, it was a Saturday and a lot of people were not around. He managed to overpower her and then had sexual intercourse with her right there on the floor of his office. Feeling used and abused, the 20-year-old girl called up at the corner of the street, crying, and she was approached by a good Samaritan who took her to the police station and officially reported the matter. She was then after taken to the police clinic for examination, and the results of the examination showed that she had indeed been sexually assaulted. The parents of this girl marched straight to the office of the Vice Chancellor of the university, and according to them, the Vice Chancellor was so saddened by the incident. The VC told them to write an official complaint to document their allegation, and the school will take action. And so they did. And after the official reports that was laid at the school, the parents went ahead to institute a criminal action against Professor Cyril. He was charged for the offense of rape. By September, the very next month, Professor Cyril was suspended from his position as dean, pending investigations and possible exoneration. Exoneration from the criminal rape allegation, as well as the alleged acts of official misconduct and abuse of office. Female law students of that school must have heaved a sigh of relief, but their jubilation did not last forever. A few years after this horrendous allegation, and despite the fact that the court case was still ongoing, Professor Cyril Ndifon was reinstated as Dean of Law, much to the shock and anger of a lot of people. They questioned the moral standards of an institution that reinstates an alleged sexual predator back into a position of power where he can continue his abuse. They wondered whether the university management was not aware of the previous case. Didn't they care about the safety and the wellness of their students? Why was Professor Cyril reinstated as Dean of Law in the University of Calabar after such grave allegations and despite an unsolved and unsettled court case? But all these complaints and questions fell on deaf ears. He was back as Dean, and that was the end of the story. One would have thought that after this first incident, Professor Cyril's hot pants must have cooled off, that he would have seen it as a second chance to repent and retrace his steps. But you know the saying, that he who the gods want to kill kill, the first make mad. Professor Cyril was madly inclined to abusing his young, vulnerable students. And so he proceeded in his usual fashion, even worse this time, demanding for sex, demanding for nudes, harassing and threatening those that do not oblige, that he will fail them, sexually molesting, subjecting the students to perform lewd sexual acts on him, fellatio, name it. It was sickening. And even when some of these victims and potential victims approached other lecturers, complaining and telling them to come to their aid, it was said that many of the male lecturers laughed it off, while some of the female lecturers declined to stand against such senior colleague of theirs. And so he continued, unabated. But one day, just as the goats that has been pushed to the wall, the students turned around and faced their oppressor. They said, enough is enough. And then they took their plight and ordeal straight to the streets and straight to social media. On the 14th of August 2023, law undergraduates of the University of Calabar marched out in their numbers to the Vice Chancellor's office, protesting the incessant sexual abuse they had been suffering in the hands of Professor Cyril. Some of their placards read, "We are tired of sucking. Law girls are not bonanzas. Professor Ndifon, stop grabbing us. The faculty of law is not a brothel." They had had it up to their necks. They came out in their numbers, insisting that their voices must be heard. This protest gained momentum and spread like wildfire on social media. Oh no, it was no fire. It was an inferno. It was all over social media. From Twitter to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, the whole of social media was on flames. And so it caught the attention of all the persons, agencies, ministries and departments that needed catching. In response to the protest, the Public Complaints Commission, led by the Honorable Commissioner of State, launched an investigation into the whole allegation against Professor Ndifon. The NBA, the Nigerian Bar Association, commenced the probe into the allegation as well. The university management immediately issued a query to Professor Cyril, asking him to explain all these grave allegations, and after he gave his response, they were not satisfied. It didn't hold any water. They termed it unsatisfactory, and then again, for the second time, he was suspended indefinitely as a dean of law or as a lecturer at all in that institution. The school management set up an investigation panel, and after much digging and thoroughly investigating, he was indicted for gross repeated sexual assaults of his students. After shunning several invitations from the ICPC, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, he was arrested by the State Security Service, the SSS, and the 14-count charge was preferred against him, bordering on sexual assault, abuse of office, and criminally soliciting for nude photographs and videos. The trial judge ruled that he be remanded at Kuje prisons, from where he will be attending his trial until he meets his bail conditions. His bail was pegged at 250 million naira, with 2 sureties in like sum, as well as so many other stringent conditions. A few days ago, before the prosecution closed its case, it tendered as exhibits several videos and pictures from Professor Cyril's phones, showing demands and threats for nudes of young students of his. It was such a shock to the whole court sitting. 16 private videos, 16, were played from his phone. Well, the judge in his wisdom has ordered an accelerated hearing for this case. An accelerated hearing, as the name implies, it's an order to speed up the hearing so it doesn't linger too long. And in the next hearing, the next court sitting, on the next adjourned date, the defense team, that's Professor Cyril's counsel, will open their case. They intend pleading a no case submission. Our eyes will be on that case and I would inform us of whatever outcome it takes. Reacting to the scandal surrounding her husband, Professor Cyril's wife, Rita, who was recently conferred professor at that same institution, expressed the joy she felt as they just celebrated their 28-year wedding anniversary. She dedicated her professorship to her husband, whom she described as beloved. She said that her love for her husband remains despite the alleged numerous allegations of sexual harassment. Dishing advice to other women, she said, if you love your husband, stand firm, challenges will come. Mommy the mommy. Well, this story is a story of an evil norm that has been going on for decades unaddressed. It is a story of a breach of trust, abuse of office, and a misuse of position. It is a story of a grandfather doing to others what he will not like others to do unto him and his. It is a story of a waste, an absolute waste of a second chance. As I mentioned earlier, I'll follow keenly on this case, and whatever outcome it takes, be sure that I will be the first to let you know. Do share your thoughts, your experiences, your feelings, whether it's a personal experience or a third-party experience. Share all of those down in the comment section. So guys, yes, we have come to the end of today's video. If you're seeing me for the first time, you're new here, you're seeing me for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, drop all your comments down in the comment section, turn on your bell notifications, and stay glued because we have so much more coming your way. It's me, your girl, Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye.